Love that music. Welcome everyone to Book Writing Tips, quick tips for new and seasoned authors, and I am your host, Alba Arango. Thank you so much for joining me on this first episode of this podcast, hoping that this is going to really inspire you, whether you're a first-time author or an author who's been writing for a long time and is just looking for some, inspiration or maybe some new tricks, ideas of where to go when you have a new project in mind. But before I get into today's topic, which is going to be where do I begin, let me give you a little bit of information about myself. Since this is the first episode, an introduction would be appropriate. Let's see. I taught high school for 25 years and retired in 2017. I know, before COVID, it's like, phew. I've also published 12 different books. Books 13 will be out at the end of the year. I've had many short stories published in different anthologies and magazines. And I love to write. I have many projects going in here, and I was just hoping, I would love to share some of my knowledge with you guys out there in the audience. So without any further ado, let's get down to our topic for today's episode, which is where do I begin? There'll be two parts to this episode, like there will be. That's going to be my format for this podcast. In part one today, we're going to talk about what are you going to be writing on. And the second part's going to be, how do I start a book? I've never written a book. I have no idea where to begin. So let's get down to it. Part one. What are you going to be writing on? Now, there are people like George Lucas who literally wrote all of the Star Wars episodes on a legal pad and pen, or maybe it was pencil. Either way, it was literally handwritten, every episode of Star Wars, and I'm just awed by that. I could never do that, and if you saw my handwriting, you would understand why. I can't even read my handwriting when I go to the grocery store, like, is that chicken or Chipotle? So I could never do that, but some people are very comfortable with that. You write in a journal every night, or you've been writing a diary since you were 12, and that's where you're comfortable, then that's the place to do it. Get yourself a lovely pad that's going to inspire you, maybe with a great, inspirational quote on it, and there you go. Now, some people, like Danielle Steele, if you've never heard of her, really? You've never heard of Danielle Steele? She might be one of the most prolific writers of the day. She does all of her writing on a typewriter, like a manual typewriter. It's like boggling and so cool to see. If you follow her on social media, like Instagram, she sometimes posts like her hands like writing on this typewriter, and I'm just like, wow, that is like amazing. I of course could never do that because I make more mistakes writing one sentence than she probably makes in like her entire book. So for most of you out there, if you are like me, you're probably going to be using some kind of word processing software. So for me, I'll talk about what I do and then give you some ideas of what are other options. Microsoft Word is what I used for probably maybe the first 7 or 8 or maybe even 9 of the books. It's easy. I've used it, since I started working on a computer, 20 plus years ago, and I'm comfortable with it. So if that's you, then hey, there you go. For some of you, Google Docs is like your go-to. That's another great way to do it. But I will tell you, there are times when sometimes I'd like a little bit more, structure than what Microsoft Word can offer. There are a lot of different writing softwares out there, and the one that is my personal favorite, so it's the one that I know, is Scrivener. It tends to be, I think, probably the most popular of the writing software that's out there. I will tell you how I use it, and you, of course, can look into it, look into other softwares, whatever works for you, because remember, you're the one writing this book, so it needs to be what you feel comfortable writing. So I'll tell you kind of some of the features that Scrivener has, just so you get an idea of what writing softwares have to offer. So Scrivener has like a sidebar where you can put folders in. Now, if you write the way I do and you kind of just sit down and start writing, I don't really write like chapter 1 and then write chapter 1 and then chapter 2 and then write chapter 2. That's just not my method. So it can be kind of frustrating sometimes writing in Word because I'll be like 20,000 words in, or, halfway through my book, and I'll be like, oh, what did they say back then? And I have to scroll back up to try to find the scene where they said this. And what I like about Scrivener is you can save things as scenes. So you can do that in Word too, like save it as a folder, every scene as a folder. So like cave scene or beach scene or kitchen scene. But I like it because in Scrivener, it's just right there on the side. So like if I'm writing and I'm like, oh, what did they say in the cave again? I forgot. All I have to do is open a second screen and click on it, and there it goes. And I can see that scene, so I can read through it, see what it was I wanted to know, and then click out of it and go right back into writing. And for me, it helps organize. I mean, that's just kind of how I am. I'm so scatterbrained that I need help with my organization. That is one thing I use Scrivener for, is to organize my thoughts, my notes. There is a place for research. So anything you want to upload in your research, if you have images or, information from the internet, you can put all of it there, and you will actually have a bar right there that says research. So if you're in the middle of writing and you need to know about those odorless poisons that you researched, you don't have to click out. All you do is open a second screen right there next to it and click on your research and find the research you need, and it's right there. So it does help with organization, which is my big thing because I am so disorganized. This is also a really cool feature. You can actually write notes on the side. So if you're writing, you'd be like, wait, why would he wear that? I mean, why would he say that? Or why is there, a watermelon in that scene? And you want to make notes to yourself. There's actually a way you can do it. There's other ways you can do that in Microsoft Word as well. So that's also a good thing for you. What I like about Scrivener is that it shows up. Like as you're writing, you can just add a quick note to the side. And then later on, if you go back to that scene, there's your note on the side, which is a really good, helpful tool, by the way. And it's good in Microsoft Word. Google Docs might have something like that too. These are the things I use in Scrivener. And other thing in Scrivener is if you are planning on doing indie publishing, like publishing your book to Amazon or publishing your book, straight to any kind of EPUB format, Scrivener actually will format it for you. So at the end, you just save it as an EPUB and you can upload it straight to Amazon. They do Mobi too, but I think Amazon now is really okay with EPUB. So you're good to upload it to wherever you're going to do, draft to digital or whatever requires an EPUB format. They do it for you, which is really, really nice, because if not, then you are going to have to take your Word document and you are going to have to format it yourself through whatever method it is you're going to use. But this is kind of just easy. These are the things I use Scrivener for, but there are so many things on Scrivener that I don't know how to use. And that is one thing about Scrivener. It does have a learning curve. So you have to kind of be willing to spend a little bit of time with it. But once you get used to it, it's really, really helpful. A lot of authors use Scrivener. So that's just if you're interested in checking it out, I will have a link in the comments for you. You can go down to the description and there'll be a link there. Now, if you are going to be writing a script, you can use Scrivener for that as well. It actually has, if you go to new project, it'll say script writing and then it formats it for you, which is nice. I would not recommend writing a script in Microsoft Word or Google Docs. It is much harder to format. Scripts are very specific. And so if you are wanting to use Scrivener for that, you can. I would say, though, if you are only going to be writing scripts, that I'd forget Scrivener and I would just probably spend the money on Final Draft. Final Draft is the program that pretty much it's industry standard for script writing. So if you're going to be submitting your script to agents or to movie houses or whoever to review your script, they're going to be wanting it in Final Draft format. So you may as well shell the money out now. It is pricey. I think Final Draft is about $200. But if you're only going to be doing scripts, that's the way to go. If you're going to be doing scripts and books and you don't know what else, then I would probably recommend Scrivener. That way you have like script writing software, plus you can do book writing software as well. There is a price on Scrivener though. It does cost $60. It is a one-time fee. They give you a licensing key. So if you lose your computer or if it crashes or if you end up buying a new computer, you just download the app and then upload your licensing key and then you just keep going from there. So it's a one-time fee. So it is a little pricey because it is $60. My opinion though, it is well worth it if you need help with organization, which I definitely do. Now, before I get on to part 2, which you are looking forward to, which is how do I start a book? Let me pause and do a crazy law / writing prompt. And I know you're already thinking, what? Here's the thing. As a writer, I think writing prompts are important. They help you like flex your imagination. They help you kind of focus on writing just something out of the ordinary. It gives you a break from your regular writing. It's kind of a cool thing to do, and I have always loved to write writing prompts about crazy laws. So I'll find a crazy law in history, something that was a real law once upon a time, and then I don't want to know why they made it a law. I want to make up my own reason as to why I think they make it a law. So let me give you this example. Today's crazy law. In Huntsville, Alabama, it is illegal to move your bed without getting a permit from the chief of police. Now that was a real law once upon a time. I don't want to know the real reason why they made that a law. I like to use my imagination, which is why I use this as a writing prompt. This is actually really good for like writers groups and stuff. If you bring it in and say, hey, here's a cool idea. Let's all think about why we think, they made this a law. And there could be all kinds of reasons why they made that a law. Maybe the chief of police was just really, really nosy. And so he wanted to go into everyone's house and inspect where they moved their bed and, look around, check things out because he's nosy. Or maybe it's much darker and much more sinister, and he actually needs to know where you move the bed because they have cameras in every room and they want to know how to adjust the cameras. Ooh, that's very dark and very creepy. But you could go in a number of different ways, and that's what I love about crazy laws as a writing prompt. That's just a thought. I'll be doing those in every episode. Now, let's get down to this. How do you start writing a book? Every writer's conference I've been to, every, book fair, book signing, every time, there's always at least one person that says, hey, you know what, Alba, I have this idea for a book, but I have no idea how to get started. Do you have any advice? And so, let's get to it. How do you start writing a book? You have this idea. How do you get it from idea to a book? Okay, let's go. Let's give you some ideas right now. First of all, are you a plotter or a pantser? And right now you're going, I have no idea what that means. So let me give you some kind of clue as to what I'm talking about. In the author world, there are plotters and there are pantsers, people who outline and plot their book before they sit down to write it, and people who just sit down and write by the seat of their pants, aka pantsers. Now, what you are could determine how you start writing your book. So if you are, say, an organized person, you like things to be in order, you like to have things organized, you may just be a plotter. And for you then, my suggestion would be, okay, you've got this idea for a book, now write it in outline form. Outline the book. Where is it going to start? What's going to happen to your main character? What are the major plot lines? And this is something that you do not in like 5 minutes. This could take you several days to come up with this outline because what you are doing is outlining your entire book. So you are thinking in your head of where you want to start this book and where you want it to progress. And that way, when you start writing, you already know the direction the book is going. I have done this on occasion. And I will tell you, if you are thinking your book is going to be like a trilogy, like you want to write a trilogy, then outlining is a must for you. Because you need to have, and this is my suggestion, okay, a 1-page outline for each of your 3 books, the main plot line for each of your 3 books. That way, when you start writing book 1, you already kind of know what's going to happen in books 2 and book 3, and you could start planting seeds in book 1. Maybe something people aren't going to realize right away, but when they read book 2, they're going to be like, oh, that's why that happened in book 1. So you kind of want to have a general idea of what is going to happen to your main characters in books 2 and 3 before you start writing book 1. Because once you publish book 1, you can't go back and just change it. I mean, you can if you self-publish, but readers really hate that. So you want to have, once you publish book 1, you're done, you're moving on to book 2, and you kind of want to continue the story from where book 1 left off. Now that is if you are outlining a trilogy, and that's as if you're doing fiction. If you are writing nonfiction, it's a whole different world. For nonfiction, yes, I would definitely say you want to outline, but what you are going to need to do first is do your research. I'm going to assume if you're planning on doing nonfiction, you are already an expert in your field, but now you need to actually look up all your research notes and organize them. Because if you are going to go to, say, a publisher or an agent with this, you are actually not going to show them a completed book. what agents and publishers are going to be looking for is a book proposal. And you can do a search for book proposals on Google, and that will kind of help you get an idea of what they're looking for. But they are going to want to see your research and how you've organized it. So for you actually probably are going to want to do, what are you going to put in chapter 1? What are you going to put in chapter 2? And how is this book going to be organized? And that is when a writing software could really probably benefit you a lot, because you can have different folders and rearrange them however you want. In Scrivener or whatever software you're going to choose. You can even storyboard them so you can kind of get a look at how it would look physically to see all the different chapters. But that is if you are writing nonfiction. Now, if you are writing memoir, that's actually different than nonfiction. Even though it is nonfiction because it's true story, it's memoir, it's still written the way fiction is written. So you would follow the same guidelines as fiction. So kind of start with where you want to start your memoir and then kind of go from there. Now, if you are a pantser and you are really disorganized like me and you really just have this idea for a book, but you don't really want to outline it, you kind of just want to see where this book goes, then here's some suggestions for you. Where can you start? Well, if you have just a general idea, like for my last book, I literally just had the idea that my kid detectives, I write children's mysteries, my kid detectives were going to go on a cruise and that there was going to be a mystery on the cruise. Like the ship was going to have a mystery and they were going to try to solve it. That is literally all I knew when I started the book. And so I just started it with them getting on board the cruise ship, and I just wrote as things came to me. Now, that might not be good for you because you may have no idea where your book's going to begin. So here's some other ideas. When you think of your book, you say you have an idea. You thought of a scene. That's probably what you thought of. You thought of this scene, and it could be like, I just thought of the detective at the end where he's going to say, it was Mr. Green in the dining room with the candlestick. And everyone's going to go, oh, okay, you know what? Write that scene. Write the scene where the detective reveals who the killer is. And then you've started your book. It doesn't matter. No one says, there's no law that you have to write the book at the beginning. Start the book where you think of when you think of your book. And if you can't, you just have a general idea, like I just know this character is really vivid, I just want to write a book about this character, then write where this character you're thinking of meets their love interest or meets the antagonist. But write a scene with that character you're thinking of, and that can be the first scene you write in your book. And then you've started your book. So write whatever scene you want to start your book. Write that scene. And then you're an author. You've started your book. It's so exciting. And then from there, what you can do, you can write what happened before. What happens next? What happens when that character meets this other character? Or think of another character and write a scene with that character. But you've started your book, and that is the hardest thing to do, is to actually sit down and start writing that book. So write that first scene. Just start there and you have started your book. And that might be the best advice I can give you to how to start your book, is to literally just start writing it where you want to start writing it. All right, that's it for today. I'm gone even a little longer than I was intending. I hope this gives you some ideas of how to start a book, or at least what to look into to start writing your book. Just a couple of last notes. I will post some links in the comments to things like Scrivener and Final Draft, and even like one of my books, just because, I'm an author. I got to promote myself too. And of course, there are 2 other episodes that I have posted today, because I really didn't want this to be the only episode you heard. So I am going to have 2 more episodes. I know the next one, episode 2, is going to be realistic writing goals. And for me, that is really, really important. And that might be for you really, really important, whether you're a new author or a seasoned author, because writing goals are what kind of helped me get my books done. So if you like this, please listen to the next couple episodes. And then if you decide, hey, this is kind of a cool, podcast, then please subscribe, like, comment, and I will try to have a new episode every Wednesday from now until, whenever. So thank you for joining me on Book Writing Tips, and I hope to see you again soon.